Ain't they beautiful?
First 43 acres of cotton is awesome. Unfortunately, the next 170 acres of cotton that I planted is not. Yep, gotta replant. All right, we're done with our initial planting of everything, and now it's time to start maintaining what we got. First up, this first field of cotton that we planted, that's up to a absolutely beautiful stand. Fantastic. I believe there's more seed to come up out here than what I actually planted. That's how good the stand is. It is absolutely fantastic. But cotton comes up, we got to start worrying about thrips. You can see that first true leaf coming out right there, and you can see how it's kind of crinkled up. Well, it's not supposed to be. That's because it's got thrips on there. And seeing as how we're right beside a wheat field that's drying down, all the thrips out there are moving over here into the cotton, into the crop that they prefer. And they're so small, I know you can't see them, but I see at least 2 thrips right there crawling around on my hand. So since we're only going to have 43 acres of really early, really good looking cotton, we want to maximize what we can get out of this 43 acres. So we're coming in here and just getting started spraying. We're going to spray for thrips and also going to spray a Roundup because our cover crop is starting to put back out the annual ryegrass and stuff and need to wipe it out. But we definitely want this cotton off to a bang up start. And seeing as how we got soybeans that have been planted for a month now, we haven't had a chance to spray them because we've been busy planting. And then corn that's been planted 2.5, 3 weeks now. Both those crops got to be sprayed. Got to be sprayed with chemicals that we would then have to clean out of our sprayer if we waited to spray our cotton afterwards. So we only got 43 acres here. It won't take long to knock it out. While our sprayer is clean, we're going to go ahead and spray it. And then we got to spray soybeans. Then we got to spray corn. And then we got to turn right back around and go over the corn again with fertilizer. So that's what Andy and Kelly are going to be doing the next few days while I'm replanting. Just what I was dreading. But our soybean and our corn herbicides, both spraying out of bulk shuttle tanks. And when I went to go calibrate our second pump for the second tank, it apparently the hose fittings corroded in two and blew chemical everywhere. So before we can start spraying beans, I gotta stop here and get another pump.
Well, we just got done with our first cotton post-merge, and I didn't video really anything out there, so because I was learning a little bit and following the rows. That was too important for me. But we made it to our second destination today. This is actually going to be for soybeans, so I'll be able to video a little bit more. But look out there at that wheat. It's actually starting to look like some wheat. Looking good out there though. But let me get down and open these gates and continue on with spraying. Alright, so while we're waiting on Kelly with the water truck, we can go ahead and get our field and everything ready for it's Clanton. We're at Clanton. We're not doing cotton anymore, we're doing soybean, so soybean post-merge, controller rate. Oh, that looks good. Let's see if our soybean water, Roundup, Power Max. We're doing Roundup and prefix, so I think that's right. Let's see if there's prefix on there. It's a herbicide. I believe we're ready to roll. 15 gallons an acre. Don't hit cancel. Soybean post-merge, controller rate. We got our field in line. I'm waiting right here for Kelly in the water truck, so.
All right, my dealer's finally able to track down enough seed for me. We had 3 bags of Phytogen 360 left over. We're going to use that. And we got another 24 bags of Phytogen 360 here. This is, for the most part, of what we got to replant. This was the variety that we originally planted, so it won't be a problem. One of the other farms was Phytogen 400. And to get the replant benefit from the seed, you know, we've got to go back with the same brand, not necessarily the same variety. So that Phytogen 400 is kind of a mid-season maturing variety, which we're way past the optimum planting date, so we need as early of maturity as we can get, and Phytogen 360 fits this bill right here. So not gonna have any Phytogen 400 this year, even though it's been a great variety. Just don't think we're gonna have the growing season and would be really disappointed in it. So this is a seed that we're going to go back with, and you know, and the reason we're not going back with Delta Pine or something like that is because cottonseed, I think the way it works is that, you know, each one of these bags is around $600 plus or minus. Well, the replant assistance that we get from either Corteva or Bayer or whoever the manufacturer of the seed is this replacement seed that we've got to buy to replant only cost us about 25% of the suggested retail price. However, if I were to go back with Delta Pine seed on ground that I'd planted Phytogen on, well then I'd be paying, well then I'd have to go back and pay full price for the second round of seeds. So definitely doesn't make sense to have, you know, $200 an acre planting costs tied up in something. So as it is, you know, it's going to cost us more than it should to put a cotton crop in, but not as much as if we went with a different manufacturer. Now, my later planted stuff that we haven't scouted yet, it still needs more time. I've got hope that we won't have to replant it, but it's definitely too soon to make a determination on it. All of it was Delta Pine, and be the same thing. If we do have to replant that, then we'll have to go back with Delta Pine varieties rather than Phytogen varieties. But luckily, Delta Pine's got some really good, really early season varieties that we can choose from. Hopefully they'll be in good supply if we actually need them. So y'all seen me fill up the planter a bunch so far this spring, so I'm not going to bore you, but I'll see you back out in the field after I get everything loaded up and ready to put some more seed in the ground.
Well, I didn't do too much spraying out on Clanton, much at all actually. I pulled up to the water truck and filled up, and Kelly decided she wanted to do the soybean ground instead, and I was like, take it. So she's back there spraying bottoms and creeks or spraying bottoms and going through creeks, and I'm just sitting up here watching and making sure the water truck doesn't go anywhere. So it's still here waiting on a new batch to be made, and I believe, well, actually, we're not doing our batch just yet because it's only calling for 4 acres on the next field, and we're gonna try and piece 2 together, but we're also trying to beat the darkness. So when Kelly gets back up here, we're gonna go from there and see how much chemical we need to use and how much to fill up. But I believe she's actually about done, and then we're going to Gary Taylor. So I'll see y'all at Gary Taylor. Maybe I'll be in the sprayer, maybe I'll be in the water truck. Just never know.
All right, it's getting pretty late in the day. We got everything loaded out, and the growing season's not getting any shorter, so we'll get to the fields, try to get a little bit planted, see if we can get the planter set, see if it's dry enough to do a decent job of putting seed in the ground, and show you a little bit why we're replanting, and go from there. All right, apparently we got, I think, electrical problems. The marker will not go up. The hydraulics on my number 2 remote are working one way, but not the other. I don't know why. So we're just gonna let tractor just sit there and think about it for a little while I show you what's going on. Anyway, we're over here on the center farm, and this is the last farm we planted right before we got rained out on the first stretch. We actually finished up field right there across the road, literally as it was starting to come down a flood. So, I mean, naturally, it doesn't surprise me we're going to have to replant this. Let me show you what we're looking at.
You know, some of it looks pretty dang good. I mean, you can see it coming up all the way down the road right there. I mean, that's what it should look like. And then you go one row over, ain't a single seed up. I mean, literally, not a single seed up. Then the next row over, I think I see 1, 2, maybe 3 seed up in that stretch. And then the next row over, I don't know if y'all can see it good on the camera, but I can see it real good. I can row it all the way right down through there. I mean, it looks just like it should. Next row over, row it all the way right down there.
And then this row, got about half of a stand on this row. And that's what, it does not make any sense whatsoever to me. We did the job planting, put the seed where it's supposed to go, and you got one row that comes up fantastic, and literally the row right next to it doesn't come up. Doesn't make any sense. So I know what a lot of y'all probably saying. No wonder, look at that jungle you planting into. Ain't no small seed cotton plant gonna come up in that stuff. Oh, hey, in this little field, we got a spot where we did some conventional tillage. And if anything, it looks worse than the jungle we planted into.
See that row right there? Ain't nothing up until you get on up in here. Same over this one, nothing up. That row, you can start to see it coming up a little bit right there and on up. This row, nothing. This row, nothing. And so on. You get up here this row, start seeing a few plants right there.
So you see, it's not the cover crop. The conventional till did it just as well. Well, maybe you got a bad batch of seed. This seed is the exact same seed lot, exact same variety, exact same seed lot as that field that I showed you in the beginning of the video. That could not have looked any better. The only difference is this field right here was planted a day and a half after that field. And I mean, a day and a half can make a big difference in planting, whether it comes up or not. But when we get to another field, I'll show you something that kind of throws that out the window. But anyway, that's what we're looking at here. Have I kept stands similar to this in the past? Yeah, but I've been pretty pissed off at myself all year long because I got to look at that crap for the next 4 months, and I decided I don't want to do that this year. Now we're fairly early in the replant window. We're really late in the normal planting window, but in the window that you would normally replant, we're actually kind of early. I think today is May 22nd. Yeah, 100% yield potential is out the door. Unless we just have a really hot extended summer, which if we have that, then we're probably not going to have a very good corn crop because cotton and corn don't necessarily like the same type of weather. So 100% yield potential is out the door. And generally with cotton, if you got a replant, it's not going to be 100% yield potential. But now the key is to get this crop in the ground as quickly as possible so we lose as few a day as possible. And we're able to accumulate as many DD60s as we can. The cotton is just one crop that, my cotton scout was out here with me this morning. I wanted him to look at it with me, maybe help me figure it out. There wasn't helping me figure out the decision on replant. I mean, it literally took me like 2.5 minutes of walking through the field like, we need to replant. Well, why did it do this? Why have we got one row, picture perfect, row next to it, almost nothing up? It just doesn't make any sense. And it wasn't because got the seed too deep in the ground, because just digging up the seed, the seed rotted. Didn't rot in this row, but it rotted in the row right next to it. So cotton has a tremendous capability of compensating for low yields, but to do that, it needs a lot of heat units. But when we've got 3, 4, 5, 6 feet gaps in a row with literally no plants, it's going to take a ton of time and good weather for the adjacent rows next to it to compensate for that big gap. It can do it if it's got the time, but typically here in West Tennessee, we're just not going to see the time. So I think by replanting, if we can get a good stand this time, by replanting, we're going to make more yield than if we kept this stand right here. And also the poor conditions, you know, this cotton that's been here, you know, some of it's just now emerging. It's been in the ground almost 2 weeks. It's endured over 6 inches of rain, some cool weather. Even if it does come up, there's very good chance it doesn't have very much vigor left. That means it's pretty much exhausted itself trying to get up out of the ground. And when that happens, the plant might produce something, but it's never going to recover and produce its full capability. So there's a good chance that what we're replanting with mid 80-degree temperatures this week, sunshine, no rain in sight, this stuff comes up out of the ground blowing and going, it could surpass what we're, you know, any plants that were to survive out here, or if we were to keep part of the crop, a good chance this replanted cotton could surpass it and will probably most definitely out yield it. So that's why we replant. All right, let's see if get that marker up now. All right, the saga continues. We managed to get the marker up, but now let's see. We got hydraulic flow on remote number 1. My markers were on number 2, and I swapped them with number 2 and 3. All right, number 2, no flow. Either way. Number 3. Yep, flow both ways. And now number 4, which is my fan, no flow. Nothing. So in the span of 50 yards of planting, I've lost 2 hydraulic remotes. I mean, it's something electrical going on. I don't know what. I guess I'm just going to try and get this thing folded up and get it back shop and put my laptop on there and run some diagnostics. All right, it had some fault codes on there for number 1, 2, and 3. And anyway, I cleared them out and we don't have any more active. And now we got a hydraulic flow on all 4 of them. I don't know what the deal was. Hopefully it was just a temporary gremlin. We got to clear it out and it'll be fine, but. All right, maybe we can get more than 12 rows planted today.
There's a fox jumping in the wheat. Let's see if we can get him to jump. He did it again. What? Yeah, look. There he is. He's right there. Jump again. Woo! Jump again. That's hilarious. This field literally has like everything in it. We got Bigfoot down here somewhere. Where's Bigfoot? Let's show him Bigfoot. Look at this. Look at that. It's a big old dog, coyote, or something out here. And now we got the fox. There's also turkeys, deer, and look where we are at. You would think they wouldn't be here, but here they are. They just don't care. I'm over here spraying beans. These are the full season beans. And then we're gonna swap up and Andy's going to start spraying corn ground. He needs experience on wide rows, how to follow the rows. So he's going to spray the corn. Haven't decided on cotton yet. We're gonna kind of flip a coin on that one, but I'm gonna do all full season beans and double crop soybeans this year. After we're done with this, we're gonna get back, we're gonna change over tanks, and then at 6 o'clock tonight I have to take Carter to a baseball game, and then I have to do the same thing on Thursday. So it's gonna take us a good 2 to 3 days to spray everything, including the corn that we have. It's 500 acres. We gotta spray atrazine and Roundup. Then we have to go back and spray fertilizer on it, but Matt's waiting on parts for the sprayer. I think we're getting these drop bars this time because Matt is replanting 170 acres of cotton so far. Hopefully that's the only stuff he has to replant. And then when we get done with the corn, we have to turn around and I have to go spray all the cotton ground and kill whatever is left out there, which is awesome. It's like the best thing ever when you have to do that. It is what it is. Mother Nature hasn't been nice, so that's all I got. I'm gonna go spray now. Also too, been kind of teaching Andy about like adaptive curves, how we can swap over to different guidance lines that we've had before. I do like to use adaptive curves because it helps with the field edges, especially going around the field. And then you can always swap over to the straight line and then, you know, move your tracks. You want to stay on the same lines all year so you don't run over stuff you haven't run over before. Less running over, staying the same tracks, less yield loss, because if you don't stay on the same tracks, you're just running more beans over, so.
Now, for all you non-farmers out there, the decision of a farmer to replant is year in, year out. It's usually my most difficult decision of the year. And mainly because, and I'm sure a lot of other farmers feel the same way I do, is a farmer absolutely despises to replant. I mean, for one thing, I hate doing anything I've already done. You know, I put every effort that I can into doing everything right the first time so I don't have to do it a second time. And then in situations like this, you know, circumstances beyond my control dictates that I've got to redo it. Not only do I hate redoing a task, now before my crop is even up, I'm already not going to be able to get 100% yield potential just because it's later in the year. And you know, it's not like it is with soybeans or corn, where we've got plenty long enough growing season that if you have to go back and replant, you can still make a really respectable yield. I mean, right now the clock's already ticking towards the first frost, and cotton requires such a lot longer growing season than corn or soybeans does. It's not going to be able to realize its full potential. So that's another thing that I'm already upset at. But the main reason the replanting decision is so dang difficult is that I'm sure a lot of other farmers think the same way that I do. You know, when you go out and look at your stand to try and determine if you need to replant or not, from the moment you walk into that field, you're almost trying to convince yourself that you don't need to replant. Because, I mean, you got emotions tied up into it. You don't want to replant. You know your crop's going to be later. You know, not going to have full yield potential. You know, so trying to weigh how many plants per acre you have out there, how uniform it is, you know, trying to determine, you know, which one is going to give you the maximum yield potential can be incredibly difficult. Now, in my case this year, this was not a difficult decision. I spent about 2.5 minutes convincing myself trying that I need to keep the stand that we have. But it was really obvious that we needed to replant. But it's not the same. It's not that case every year. You know, there's been a lot of other years I've kept really subpar stands when I should have replanted because I talked myself out of it. I'm like, the new crop is going to be so much later. It's not, you know, it's not going to have the yield potential. This earlier planted crop, even though I don't have a great stand, I think it's got more yield potential. And then because of it, I had to look at a crappy looking crop for the next 4.5 months. So, you know, I've kind of learned my lesson. I can either be pissed off for 24, 48, 72 hours, however long it takes me to get the new seed in the ground, and then be happy the rest of the year because I've got a good looking stand, or I can be pissed off for 4.5 months that I didn't replant and I got to look at a really crappy crop all year long, which really sucks even more. On the other hand, you're not guaranteed to get a perfect stand on a replant situation either. I remember one year, several years ago with cotton, we had a bottom that we planted it early enough that I could get it replanted about the same time that I am now. Not, you know, really early in the replant window. You know, it wasn't an awful stand, but it wasn't a perfect stand. And then I wound up replanting, and then we got a pretty heavy rain right after that. And then I had a worse stand after my replanting than I had with my original stand. So it was a no-brainer that I couldn't keep it. So then by the time that happened, it was, I think, June 3rd, June 4th. and I had to replant for a second time. So I had to plant cotton 3 times. And then you talk about late, I mean, there was no chance of that stuff maturing out. I mean, we wound up doing surprisingly well. I think it averaged like 800 pounds an acre or so, which was better than I thought it would. Just because you make the decision to replant does not automatically mean that you're going to get a perfect stand the second time.
Well, that was a big dozer, but all right, well, we're starting off this day. Kelly is in the sprayer. She just got all filled up, and she is spraying this bottom right now. We got this little 4-acre field connected to it yesterday afternoon before we called it quits. So she started off in the sprayer today, finishing up the soybean bottom. We've got one more little soybean field to go to, and we're not gonna need a full batch. So when she gets done, she's gonna look at her acres and tell me how many more she has in her tank, and we're gonna do a little bit of quick math and make a piece of a batch to finish up. It should be around 10 to 15 acres, so pretty simple math. I'm sitting in the water truck watching cars go by, and we've only got about 73 more acres left of soybeans to do today, but then we've got to switch over to corn, and there's about 500 acres of corn, so we really need to start rolling on it, but you can only do so much. But while Kelly is spraying, we're gonna just do a little bit of guessing math here, so to see if we can get close to the amount we're gonna need. So we're doing with 32 fluid ounces an acre of Roundup and 32 fluid ounces of an acre for prefix. That's pretty easy. So let's just do it for 10 acres. You're gonna need 320 ounces of both, and 320 divided by 128 fluid ounces in a gallon is 2.5 gallons for 10 acres. And so we're gonna need 2.5 gallons of Roundup and 2.5 gallons of prefix. So we need 5 gallons of solution, and the rest is going to be water. But when we're doing 10 acres at 15 gallons an acre, it's going to be 150 gallons total solution. So we're going to need 145 gallons of water and 5 gallons of solution to get around 10 acres sprayed. All right, Kelly is done with the bottoms, and time to fill up with our little piece. Alright, well, Kelly is off to the next field. We just got her filled up with a little piece of load. She only needed about 7 acres worth, so that was like 1.75 gallons of chemical and about 100 gallons of water. So she is off to the next little bottom. She should be finishing up on soybeans, and I am headed to the shop to switch chemical tanks.
Oh, we got a problem. The city's got a busted water line, and it's flooding our field. Look at this. You gotta love it. Now I gotta call somebody. That's bad. It's just pouring down.
Kiosks available at both customer center locations.
Yeah, so I've had to call them, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. Do you want me to send you a photo? So she's made a report. I walked all the way up there, and it's coming from this sewer area, this area right here. And it's just a constant flow. And so she was like, well, is there a pond nearby? No. We had rain on Saturday. There is no way that it is constantly draining in here. I drove by yesterday, and in the sprayer, there was no water here at all. So it just started. This is gonna be a freaking mess. No matter how hard I try, this is a mess. This whole bottom field is an absolute mess. And just holds water. And then there's 4-wheeler tracks, or it looks like a side-by-side, has just ran across the field because they just don't care. City living is so fun. City farming is so fun, actually.
All right, y'all remember that field that I showed you at the very beginning of this video? You know, the field that had the absolutely picture perfect stand of cotton. Could not ask for any better. Well, as soon as I got done with that field, I filled up with seed, the same variety I'd planted that field up. I came over to this field. I got a call from the folks looking at the cotton picker, ran back to the shop, showed them the cotton picker. So about 2 hours elapsed from the time I finished planting that field with a perfect stand till I actually planted this field. In this field, I'm hard pressed to find a seed even up. I mean, look, there is nothing right there. There's nothing right there. Nothing right there. Or there. And then looking around, oh, we got a seed right there. And then we got another one up right there. Now, explain to me the only difference between this field and the last field is 2 hours difference. Now, we did get about 1.5 inches of rain a day and a half, almost 2 days after I planted this field. About 1.5 days to 2 days plus 2 hours after I planted the first field with a perfect stand. This farm is more well drained than the last farm. The last farm's got a lot of clay, got a lot of white ground in there, really poorly drained. And in fact, that's why, that's one of the reasons that I planted it first, to give it as much time to germinate before we got a potential rain. But how? I cannot wrap my head around it. How does that field have a beautiful stand and this one doesn't hardly have one seed up in it? Same variety, same planter settings. This farm's better soil. The only difference is 2 hours and about 3 miles difference. They got pretty much the same rainfall at about the same time. Please, can anybody explain that to me? Now I have seen a half a day's planting difference make a difference in whether you get a stand that's good enough to keep or one that you've got to replant. Now, I've seen it in corn, I've seen it in soybeans, I've seen it in cotton, but I've never in my career seen such a stark difference where you go from an absolutely picture perfect stand to a situation where you don't hardly have a seed up and the only difference is 2 hours planting time. I can't explain it. If anybody can give me the actual answer of how that happened, I'll hire you as an agronomist right now.
Well, this is not where I just left off, but my camera died at the worst possible time. We swapped out the chemical tanks from Prefix to atrazine, and swapped the pump. I'm pretty sure y'all saw that. Who knows? But we're back out to the field. Me and Kelly switched places again because we're doing some more corn ground, and we just got loaded up. We got a full tank in here. All our stuff is already programmed, and we're about to be ready to go start on the field. But first, we gotta spread these wheels out a little bit. All right, we got our wheels spread out here. Our nose is right on a row. Our lines are set to where they need to be. Our booms have adjusted to the right height. I believe we're ready to go. Still following a row pretty good. It means we're not running any over. I say that and it just completely went off track, but all our tips are spraying. The rows are pretty lined up. I don't know why our fence row is on over here. Turn that off right quick.